You know, we're taught to get into character, but we're not taught in acting school to get out of character.
I know. Yeah, in drama therapy, we have a word for it, which is called de-rolling. So, you know, the idea is that when you do take on a character, I think sometimes there's this idea that to be an artist, you have to suffer, you have to go to the extreme, you have to lose yourself in a character. And, you know, I respect all the actors who use that as their tool. You can get a brilliant performance out of a person, but the kind of sustainability of like career length, right, is often hindered.
Hey, Common Sensester, thank you so much for joining us. Today is a very special Common Sense Mamita episode. We are privileged to have with us today a wonderful, wonderful woman named Danielle Levanas, M.A.L.C.A.T.R.D.T. She's a licensed creative arts therapist and a registered drama therapist. She received her master's degree from NYU, ooh, like it, and she worked in a number of clinical settings, including treatment for eating disorders, addiction, chronic stress, and trauma. We know all of those. She holds an advanced certification from the International Trauma Studies Program, and she runs a private practice for individuals and couples in Los Angeles. And not to mention, she also holds group drama therapy sessions at Reason's Eating Disorder Treatment Facility. And my most favorite part, she is the mother to a passionate and opinionated 3-year-old who I just love squeezing him. I love him. It's just delicious. Please help me welcome Danielle. Hey, Danielle, how are you?
Hi, Lydia. I'm great. How are you?
I'm good. Well, you know, I had to make a big deal about your son. That's my little heart. He's just delightful. Delightful. Well,
it's nice having neighbors in the pandemic.
Oh, man. Yes. Well, I wanted to talk to you, first of all, because you started as an actor.
Yeah.
Back in New York, you were pursuing an acting career. And in musical theater, and then experimental theater, and then you started theater programs in inner city schools in New York. Mm-hmm. And somehow your course got corrected.
Yeah, I mean, I started off, you know, just loving performance my whole life, right? And you know, what I loved the most about everything was the collaborative nature of theater. So I went to theater school, got my BFA in drama, and I always knew I wanted to do something with the arts, and I thought it was going to be a professional career, but I learned pretty quickly towards the end of my undergrad program that I didn't really want to be spending a lot of time in the business. I didn't want to be auditioning, and I have so much respect for people who do it. It just wasn't for me. What I wanted to do was be in rehearsal forever. So it took me a while to find it, how to get there, but I eventually became a drama therapist, which is really about that relational quality of theater. On the way, I started teaching, working in a school program in the New York public high school system that had no arts programming, with an organization called Opening Act.
Share with us what Opening Act is.
Cool. So Opening Act is a really incredible program. They go into public high schools that have less than 50% graduation rate and have no arts programming, at least when they initially started the contract with the program. And they do provide year-long after-school playmaking and kind of community-building theater programs. And, it was transformative. I was, kind of young, fresh out of college and thinking, oh, this will be fun. And, I learned so much being invited into communities where I didn't look like them, and the kids kind of, taught me a lot, and I taught them a lot. We created plays, and they performed them on off-Broadway stages. And it's still going today. It's even bigger than before. It's an incredible program. So
sometime right after that, you got invited to go to Africa.
yeah, I went to West Africa, to Ghana, with a professor of mine from NYU, and we I assisted him with a collective of people, and we were in a theater company together. We ended up doing some work at the university there in Ghana, but also working on a Liberian refugee camp where we were working with a youth theater program who wanted to learn more about theater. And so we helped them teach them how to create their own plays in a way that was maybe new. And that was that, and also in the high schools is where I learned that, I could see that theater was changing people. It was impacting people's lives. And the act of doing it, of creating something, of building trust with each other, of being in an ensemble, of, learning how to use your body to express, owning one's own story, like that changes something inside of us. But I didn't quite understand how that related to psychology. And so in Liberia, I was noticing, a lot of the young people we worked with had severe trauma in Liberia and had moved to this refugee camp. And, I noticed symptoms that I didn't quite understand. Seizures.
Wow.
I mean, these were severe traumas. Some of these young boys had been child soldiers. Some of them had witnessed their families killed. I mean, it was severe trauma. And along with it came, physical symptoms, and also kind of a need to connect and feel validated and seen, and have a space to kind of share stories. So when I started seeing that work, I felt like I was at the limit of what I understood about the power of theater. And so then I started researching kind of what else one could do in life. Who wants to, someone who wants to do theater, but also wants to be involved in healing. And I happened upon this thing called drama therapy, which actually there's a master's program at NYU for it, but I didn't know it existed. And eventually, so it was about 10 years from graduating, going out trying to get on Broadway to going back to get my master's to become a therapist in drama therapy.
One of the things that I've noticed over the years as an actor is that there are a lot of actors out there who have some kind of mental illness, or they're mentally stressed. And it is, we make fun of it. There, people say, oh, you're crazy, something's wrong with you. But the reality is that the work that we do as artists, it is very mental. It's emotional. It's mental. It's heart. You're embodying another person, and then you don't have the resources or the tools to help you come out of that. We're taught to get into character, but we're not taught in acting school to get out of character.
I know. Yeah, in drama therapy we have a word for it, which is called de-rolling. So, the idea is that when you do take on a character, I think sometimes there's this idea that to be an artist, you have to suffer, you have to go to the extreme, you have to lose yourself in a character. And, I respect all the actors who use that as their tool. You can get a brilliant performance out of a person, but the kind of sustainability of career length, right, is often hindered. People get burnt out, they get addicted to substance abuse, there's losses along the way. And so one of the things that I really love is something like a Meisner technique, which is a little bit less all about here's it and having to hold it and create, and more about stepping into the role, being there, being present, being in the moment, reacting and being in motion, and then allowing yourself to step away. And in drama therapy, we do something called de-rolling, where you allow yourself to it sounds silly maybe.
No, this is a great tool for actors.
Yeah, it's almost like, you honor the role that you took in, and some part of your being connected in a very real way to that character's struggle. or that character's dream or aspirations. And so, you know, honoring that connection, but then allowing it to sever. I don't need to carry that character home with me. And in fact, it's important that I don't, so that I can allow myself to, my nervous system to settle. I can allow myself to get sleep. I can allow myself to be in healthy relationships. And I'm able to have that almost grounding that can be very hard to find when you're used to a state of activation.
So let's walk through this together, because I think this is really beneficial for actors watching this. I'm taking on a very serious role. So this character has experienced tremendous trauma, and I'm in that trauma right now. They yell, "Cut!" How do I, as an actor, I'm going to go home now, how do I take that off and put it down until tomorrow when I have to pick up that, get back?
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I mean, that's kind of the beauty of what I love about theater, is it's unsustainable to live in your character 8 shows a week for 40 weeks, right? Like, you just can't. So you have to learn. There's the technique is you just have to learn how to release it. Now, the practice of releasing it becomes easier the more you do it. When I'm first working with newer actors, I mean, I encourage them to go to a place that's very quiet and private, and then literally imagine what it would be like to literally use your hand and take off that role. You know, let yourself, almost the energy, let yourself kind of release it so that, and you know, do whatever you need to do. You know, some people like to stuff it up and put it on the shelf and it'll be there when you come back in your trailer or whatever. But the idea is that there's an energetic connection that we're not trying to sever, but we also know that muscle memory is real. We can tap right back into that. And so there's no need to hold and like suffer into this place where, in fact, you might lose yourself or lose kind of the ability to be in relationship and be activated by other people in the scene. You know, so being present is a key part of being in role. And once you are out of that environment where you have to be present, you can also leave that role behind and step back into your own narrative, your own story. That being said, obviously that's not always possible. And so that's where I think it can be, well, I'm biased, but I do think therapy is really helpful for everybody. Artists and actors specifically are being asked to use their body to execute someone else's vision and also to make someone else money and make themselves money, but also kind of a larger business. And so often actors are being asked to push themselves as far as they can go. They get the results, and then what? And so I think it's really great to have someone on your team who is trained in mental health, either mental health counseling or is trained in kind of trauma-informed life coaching, that can really help center and ground your identity in something that's different than everyone else's needs and projection on you.
So we're physically just taking off the character. We're physically just doing the act, the physical act of just taking it off, like we're taking off clothes. So we don't wear it. Is there, so I've taken off the character. I'm still feeling a little residue.
Beautiful. Yes. Yes. Then you would say, how am I like this character? And you would name them. You can journal it or you can speak it, right? Sometimes I actually encourage people to audio record themselves on their phone and then listen back. So you could speak and say, you know, I am like Joe because, you know, I have a strong belief in family and culture. I want to fight strongly. I believe in the power of, you know, fighting, but I also, you know, am deeply connected to a wound in my childhood. So I'm like them like that. And then you would say, I am not like Joe. And I give Joe back his anger. I give Joe back his anger. You know, it's not mine. I give back the self-destructive tendencies, not mine. I leave here for later kind of the tortured energy of scarcity. I'll leave that there, you know? And so this idea of like, what is mine and what is not mine? And making kind of this distinction between the character and me and allowing that distance to gradually grow. And it becomes second nature.
Yes.
Okay, bye, Joe. See you later.
Well,
you know, after you've done it multiple times.
Yeah, you just said something which triggered a thought in me that when, as the actor, you're putting on clothes. You're literally putting on a costume.
Yeah.
So when you're done with the performance, as you're taking off the costume, use that to take off the character.
Yeah. Yes, and I think for actors in theater, the makeup and the costume is hugely important to the ritual of creating that, stepping back into that character. And, you know, when you're doing a show, and I think that's where I have a certain bias towards live theater too, so I apologize. I'm not
That's okay.
trying to say that film and TV is not good. But I think that's where live theater can be a really great training ground, because you learn through repetition. Your body literally knows the steps. Your body is so familiar to be put into these positions. You put on the costume, and all of a sudden, something opens up in you, and you have access to a part of your kind of spirit and energy, but also kind of the language and the character that you can then take back off.
Yes. What is wonderful is that because you were an actor, you understand the process. And I think that a lot of times you can get a therapist who doesn't quite understand that. And so there's still that disconnect.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's something really, I love working with creative people. I love working with helping to create the space so that we get rid of our own self-judgment. We get rid of this concept of perfectionism or this concept of achieving the perfect place. Like, I love that place of process. And I think drama therapy is very much that. And finding a way to play. And I don't mean play in a silly way, but I mean play in terms of being fully present and embodied and giving and taking. It's almost like this idea of like that place you can get to in a great theme study class where you're fully present and you really feel like there's something, you're channeling something. That very much can also be found in a place. I mean, I imagine that's how, you know, playing with Michael Jordan felt. Like, so present in the basketball court, so ready at any moment to pivot, throw, to catch. Like, your body is integrated with your heart and your mind. And I think that's really a place of growth and creativity. And from there, I mean, you can write, you can act, you can perform. You also can, you know, be a lawyer. You can, you know, pitch a TV show idea. You can, you know, be a parent. You can be a teacher. There's so many other possibilities when we have that place of flow and groundedness.
Yeah, it allows you to be a fully realized person.
Exactly.